Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today for our topic show, we brought Mike with us because Mike went to JuliaCon. You brave soul.
They tolerated me.
Yeah, we did all right. So a couple times a year, sometimes more, sometimes less, my sister and brother-in-law, Patrick and Julia, will host a gaming weekend at their house.
It is.
We are lucky enough to be invited.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I'm family.
Right.
And then I drag friends in with,
helps.
right?
Yeah.
Like get the foot in the door and then I drag people in with me. And this is my favorite kind of con or mini con because it is like get up, play games, maybe eat food, play games, maybe go to sleep, get up, play games, rinse, repeat, right? As long as we can.
Hopefully you rinse once in a while.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's kind of like food.
Yeah,
Maybe. So anyway, super like my favorite kind of thing to do. We got down there on a Friday night, played a bunch of games. Saturday, get up, play games all day, top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday, we got in a few games. Bob got in one game.
It was a good game.
Three quarters.
Yeah, it was like 5/6.
And then Mike and I played 3 or 4 games?
3 or 4 games while that game was happening.
That game was happening.
To be fair, it was an hour and a half of teach time.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty intense. But that's why Bob and I weren't on the show, or we were missing from a few episodes because we were
So
coming.
we apologize for that.
Yeah, we won't subject you guys to that.
Slackers.
Yeah, we were slacking. I had to get home to my wife so that I still had a wife when I was this week when I was going to film. So, anyways, we roll down to Indianapolis. We break off into some groups right away. We're standing there, and there's a group of people that just finished a game, and they're like, "Oh, Bob wants to play Genotype, right?" Or you brought up Genotype. You hadn't played it yet.
I had not.
And had wanted to play it.
I did.
So they take off and go play Genotype.
Yes.
And they have a time.
It was fun.
I go and I play. Well, so they grab a box off the shelf, and I'm like, oh no, because I try not to get into long games because I want to play more than one game, especially when it's like a learning game. So they grab Gaia Project. I'm like, well, I have Terra Mystica. I know they're very similar, and I've always wanted to learn how to play Terra Mystica. And so I sit down for this nice long learning game. And, 3 hours later, we're halfway through, with the teach. And everybody's taking good,
quick turns
and everything. And, very reasonable. Because that's the other thing is when you get into a game like that, I sometimes hesitate to play with people I don't know because you never know if you're going to get that analysis paralysis person.
Yep.
Or people that are min-maxers,
or somebody who had no idea how to play the game, but they feel like they can make an educated decision on turn 1 that's going to help them win the outcome of the game. It's like, okay, dude, just play to learn. Okay, play to win the next game.
Right. So, anyways, but I did have a really good experience playing it. I was just then kind of bummed, this is the only game I'm playing tonight.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the case, but we will get into that now. You guys went and played Genotype. Tell me about it.
We did.
Yeah. I think I taught one person knew how to play, and then the other 3, including you, had not played. Unfortunately, I think I won, which
You did win.
yes,
Bad
so that
teacher
means
award.
Bad teacher award for me. However, I think most people had fun.
I was wrong. Bob actually did not win.
Oh,
so
score.
someone else won. I don't know. They scored 78 to yours 73, by
Yeah,
the
it
way.
was a very close game. The top 4 within 7, 8 points of each other. Or something like that?
Yeah, everybody else was 64 to 68. So, fairly close scores, except for mine.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Not so much.
I enjoyed Genotype. I wanted to play it. I actually remember you put it on your top 10 of 2021 for games you played for the first time. So I'm like, okay, Bob likes it. I realized we had other games similar that we enjoyed. Let's play Genotype, enjoy worker placements. And I think it's a good intro worker placement game. It did have a thing that I realized afterwards, this is a thing I don't like in games.
Oh.
And I've been thinking about this since, and it's not very often that this happens.
It's plants.
I'll play. That's what it is. It's definitely plants. I just hate all the extra oxygen. But no, I just it's very rare that I'm like, okay, that's a thing I didn't like. And so you're doing your worker placements, you're putting your plant cards out, and then the phenotypes, I believe is what they're called, are rolled. And there's 4 different colors and there's 3 different types. So there's 12 different types available. Those are rolled, and that determines what phenotypes are available. So that means that the die roll determines which resources you can get. That didn't work out very well for me, and I like luck in games. That made it tough for my first go.
Yeah, for the first go,
I
sure,
had
but there
bad
are ways to
rolls.
mitigate some of that.
There are.
So you can like manipulate. Are there 2 big R's, 2 little R's, things like that? You can get like the rakes, they'll just let you take anything as
Yep.
a wild. You can hire an assistant that lets you do those kinds of things. So there are some ways to mitigate it, but it's hard to find all that on your first playthrough. Plus, I will say we played at 5. I think that game taps out at 4 for the most, because like when you look at the board, there's a bunch of slots, and it does like a lot of ones do. Like, okay, this space is only available. There's 3 or more players. This is only available. There's 4 more players. There's no more 5 or more players. So whether you're playing with 4 players or 5 players, you have the same amount of spots to work with, and that makes it super tight and super like the space is very limited.
So-
yeah, the phenotypes you want were tight for sure.
Do you have that problem with like Dinosaur Island? Because you roll the resources
DNAs
and then
and
you
Not
you're
as much,
drawing.
because I still feel like, okay, here's something I can do something with
Okay,
still.
okay.
Whereas I am I pigeonholed myself by the cards that I planted.
Right.
So I say I only have 3 out of 12 of those resources I can actually use.
Gotcha.
And I did actually have one of the assistants that could use a wild as anything. I didn't think I'd need the rake. I'm like, I don't need 2 reasons or 2 methods of mitigation.
Wrong.
I was wrong. So I would play it again. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like this is a bad game. That changed my enjoyment of it because I had so many leftover cards just sitting in my hand, unharvested,
Yeah.
and
Open
2
die slots, you couldn't draft anything.
open dice slots. But I think it's still a pretty good game, and I'd play it again.
So what is it that you don't like in games that you realized?
It's rolling dice that determine what resources are
Okay,
available
sure,
for you.
sure.
And I think, and now Dinosaur Island, I think is an okay game. It's by far one of my favorites, but I still feel like you could still take something that you could use.
Right.
Yeah.
'cause you roll
No,
your
that's-
dice and then you take that and you can make something with that instead of having something and needing those resources.
These are the only
It's the
things
different-
I can use,
Gotcha.
and they
I
didn't
got
pop
different
up.
order of operations.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
That makes sense.
Cool. What did you guys play after Genotype? So now I'm probably just through the explanation and setup
Yeah.
of Gaia Project.
Yeah. After that, we went to the big table and we played Blank Slate.
We did.
Oh
Yeah.
That's
man,
a
I'm
fun one.
so
That was a great
jealous. I'm sitting here at like watching you guys.
Yeah, because you're at the kitchen table, right? And we're at
Yeah.
the big table like next to it, and we're like 7 of us all having fun.
Oh,
and
they're having a great time. I guess I'll do this. I'm gonna move these over. I'm gonna move these over.
Which I actually really want to play Gaia for the same reason. I have Terra Mystica. I love it. It's one of my early favorites, and I still
Gaia.
wanna
I
play.
mean, again, I did not have a bad experience playing.
But
I
it's long.
It was
don't
just like
finish.
situationally. It was not a situation I wanted to be in. Like I want to go. I'm gonna play Gaia Project today, and like that's not a game I feel like you just pull off the shelf and plop down and play. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, anyways, Blank Slate, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Blank Slate, it's kind of like a party game, word game. You're gonna flip over a card, and it's gonna have either a blank and a word, or a word and a blank. And everybody has their own little dry erase. They're gonna fill in the blank. When everybody's ready, you reveal it. If you match with exactly one person, both of you are gonna gain 3 points. If you match with more than one person, all of you are gonna get 1 point. If you match with nobody, you don't get any
No
points.
points.
Yep.
So
And
how to go over with your group?
they liked it. Everybody really like that. And I was surprised because Patrick and Julia hadn't heard of it. And I always love it when
Oh.
I got a game that they
Yeah.
didn't know about, because they got all the games.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. No, that's good. And they had a good time with it.
Yeah, they seemed like they had a good time with it.
Okay,
so.
perfect.
Bob did win for the record.
Yeah, but that's not my fault. That's not
Yeah.
one of those ones where
No,
you can
That's
see
everybody else's
shout.
fault because they
That's right.
they paired with you.
Yeah. Oh, and the last one too, I need like 1 point. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm definitely matching somebody on this one. If they could have wrote random things that had nothing to do with what the card was about, I wouldn't have won. But somebody did, and I won.
Blank Slate is great. I think if I remember right, maybe I was still reading the crowd. I was the new guy because I didn't score anything for like the first
Oh,
4
yeah.
words. But then I rattled off I think it was Chris that we played several
Yep.
games with.
Yep.
He and I were the only ones that had the same guess like 4 in a row.
Oh,
so
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
here
Shot
I
back up
come.
there,
I'm
yeah.
coming back.
No.
I love it when you can just sync up with somebody. It's
Yeah.
like, here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's go. Ba, 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 ba.
Yep.
All right, what else did you play? I'm probably now in turn 2
Yeah.
out of the 3 I played.
So after that, we played Sushi Go Party.
Okay,
So
I
it was
like
a,
Sushi
Yeah,
Go.
it was like a big deluxe version. I don't think I ever played Sushi Go before.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that was a learning game for me, but it was fun. You're kind of drafting cards and you're trying to get like pairs and
Yeah, you need like Noki and
Sets.
like
Yeah.
something. You need to have the most, or not the least. Or you get
things
penalized.
like that. Or if you only have one of these, you get penalized. But if you have 2, you get a bunch of points.
Yeah,
Stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Not my favorite game, but like I said, it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Sushi Go is. I've got the card game and
Uh-huh.
it's fine. I actually, my in-laws have the dice version.
Oh,
The
okay.
dice version is I like more, but it's
Wow.
pretty fun.
Sushi roll.
Yeah,
right?
sushi roll. Yeah, and you're
Wow.
like,
Oh, man, that sounds good. I'm hungry now.
oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I've been wanting to play Sushi Roll. I'm a big fan of Sushi Go. I bought 5 copies as Christmas presents last
Nice.
year. It's
Yeah.
like friends and family. Here you go, play this.
Yeah.
Because as far as like a straightforward filler entry level game, I think
It's
it's a
good.
good game with good
Yeah.
decisions. I always have a blast playing Sushi Go.
Yeah, Sushi Go's good.
Yeah.
Sushi Go's good. What else did you play?
After that, we played 10.
Okay, yeah, so I'm still
Still playing.
turn 2.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was probably turn 1 for
No, this
Sushi
was
Roll.
turn 4 for this, I think.
There's 6 turns
You
out
played
of
6 turns?
No,
Oh.
there's 6 turns total. I played 3.
Oh. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
So this is probably around turn 3, though. Because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is the last one that we did that
Oh, okay,
on
yeah.
Friday. So 10 is like a sort of a push your luck kind of game. Everybody has these little beads, basically. And whoever's turn it is, they're going to start flipping over cards. And if the point value of the cards goes over 10, you bust. And if you flip over a card that's got like the beads on them, that subtracts from your value so you can keep going. But if you ever hit 10 bead value, then you bust also. And so, and there's also wilds. If a wild comes up, there's a bidding phase where everybody bids for it and whatnot. But then as you collect those cards, if you don't bust, then you're trying to collect runs, right? So if I have blue cards, I'm trying to get my runs like 1 through 9. If you get all 9, you're gonna get that 10th point as a bonus, and you're gonna keep going around till the whole deck goes. You go through the whole deck, and then whoever has the most points at the end is gonna win. That's basically how 10 shook out. What'd you think of 10?
I like that one for
Yeah.
just kind of a straightforward sort of run collecting bidding kind of game. That was
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Pretty simple.
I think I won that one. That's not why I enjoyed it.
Best
But
game of the con.
no, I like games that have some kind of bidding mechanism with some push your luck. I think
Yeah.
I played the safe route. Like, let me make sure I get
something.
cards
Yeah.
instead of not getting all those extra cards I was hoping to get in the safe route.
Well, apparently it worked though, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. So then it was like midnight.
Yeah, getting pretty late.
We all get kicked out of the house. We go back over to the guest house where we were staying. And I'm like, guys, I'm not only playing half of a game on my first night here. And thankfully, they are night owls.
Yep.
So it worked out okay
true.
for me. So we busted out one of my favorite games, Lords of Vegas.
Yeah.
And not only did we bust out Lords of Vegas, so Micah never played, but Bob and I had never played with the expansions. So
Yeah.
the Up expansion and the Underworld expansion, which we just were like, yeah, let's try.
Let's try it. We're real familiar with the game. Let's try the expansions. How hard?
Mike
is
is an experienced gamer, so it Lords of Vegas isn't that complicated, so it didn't feel like adding a couple extra things was going to make it
Right.
too complex for a first-time player.
Not
right?
at all.
So fun note, Bob, for a change and not me, had been playing the game wrong.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh wait, that works like this. So the game was even better for Bob
It
because he's
was.
like, oh, this is way
I
more
can't believe I've
fun.
been playing that wrong this whole time.
Yeah, it would be miserable. The
It
way
was. I
you
was like,
were-
well, why bother paying when you got 4 dice? You're obviously going to beat my 2 dice I've got there. So why pay to remodel that or to
right,
reorganize
yeah.
that? It's like, oh, it's the highest single die.
That's huge.
Huge difference. Yeah. Now I've got a chance.
Yeah. No, it's wild, right? And so in Lords of Vegas, you're building up casinos on the strip. If you're using the Up expansion, you actually instead
Totally
of
recommend.
yeah, totally. You can you for 15 million, it's flat rate. You add a tile underneath your casino because it adds a new level.
New tier.
But you have to, if that casino is like 3 tiles, you have to pay 15 million for each tile, right? So 45 million to raise up that whole casino. But now the casino, when they score for each tile in the casino. So now what looked like a 3-tile casino is actually a 6-tile casino. That's buku points, man.
It
Like
is.
that's just crazy points as you're going. So you're not generating as much money off of those casinos, but a lot of points. Bam, 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 bam. Then there's the Underworld deck, which is it seems like, oh, this whole expansion, and again, super easy. It basically comes with a little board that'll have like 4 cards out, space for 4 cards and the 3 cards and a deck, right? And you flip over those cards, you can buy one of those cards, and it's got usually like either an instant effect or you can use it later.
Ongoing effect, yeah.
You know, it could have an ongoing effect. And if nobody buys a card, the last card in the row falls off. You slide them out, new card comes out. If somebody buys a card, you just slide over, fill the empty space, and then new card comes out. That's literally all it does. The mechanics, it's all very straightforward on the cards. There's no gray areas.
Gain some points. Buy this card. Every time a Pioneer comes out, you have to pay $2 million.
Yeah, but you get 12
but
million.
you get 12 million off the get-go. Yeah, when you buy one of those sort of the end of the game, man, it's super helpful.
Well, you don't get all 12 million.
much.
Yeah, you don't get all as much.
-1 per card. But sure.
Mike had one the second time we played Lords of Vegas, which we'll get there, which was the loaded dice. So if he rolled a 7, like when you gamble, he can re-roll a die.
Crooked Dealer.
Yeah, Crooked Dealer.
Yes.
Crooked Dealer.
I had a blast with that game. I absolutely love Lords of Vegas. But again, I do enjoy when there's some luck involved in a game. There's always kind of like this excitement of like a whole turn of events happen just because of a die roll. Some people get mad at that, and it's like that just makes it fun. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Vegas, baby.
Let's just give it a shot. Let's roll the bones, see how they roll
Well,
out.
and again, it's on theme.
It really is.
It is so on theme with the game.
Yep.
Now, we played Bob's Deluxe edition. Comes in like the leather briefcase and
That was very cool.
had all the
Fancy
chips and the fancy bits and everything.
Little cars for your parking lots.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
Yeah.
It absolutely looks great. That game is amazing. Totally love it. Dan, you're completely wrong and you're an idiot. Lords of Vegas, so good. It will be coming, I think, to Kickstarter soon. If you already have the base game, you can go to Lone Shark Games website and you can buy the upgrades and the
pieces.
expansions. But you can't get the base game.
Right. Yeah. The up expansion, I'll never not play with that.
Yeah,
again,
that's
'cause
always
it's
just gonna be a
so
thing.
Good. That was the first time we ever seen anybody get to the instant win at the very end.
Yeah,
Yeah, you triggered that, and you said that was the first time ever. And I
Yeah.
don't even see how you could get to that point without the up
it's
expansion.
so hard.
It would be so much,
hard.
especially with 4. Does it go up to 5, or is it just 4?
Players.
Yeah,
5.
5.
Can
I
with
couldn't
an
imagine
expansion.
with 5 players, all the additional territories that are out.
Yeah.
How would you branch out
The trick-
without
The trick is to like
getting the lucky
build
rolls?
a casino and then just keep remodeling it to match and absorb the rest of them. And
Yeah.
hope you have the highest die roll.
Yeah.
That's how you had
That
to
would
do
just
it
be a
back
lot
in the
more
day.
challenging.
Yeah.
My day.
One of my favorite parts of that game actually is gambling at other people's casinos.
Oh, man.
Because
yeah.
we played it again the next day, and we played against, I think his name was Mike also.
Yes.
And he lost gambling like the first 3 times he tried, and he didn't do it again the rest of the game.
Wow.
Where I'm like, okay, I'm 3,000 away from being able to build this. I'm not waiting another turn. We're rolling dice,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
So let's roll over to Tim's casino. Here's 6 strong. What do you got? You know? I love that aspect of it.
Boxcars. Now I got to pay double. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
good stuff.
it's fantastic. Yeah. So I was really excited to get to play Lords of Vegas with all the stuff and just be so impressed with how well the expansions integrate into the regular game.
Yep.
Does not make the teach any more difficult.
Nah.
It's basically explaining 2 more actions.
Right.
That is it. Right.
They have cool little player cards that come with that explain it also.
Explain all of it
Yeah.
perfectly. Really good player aids. It's just a really well-designed game, and it's a lot of gambling and push your luck. So if you don't like that sort of thing, Dan, I get it, but also you're wrong. It's because it's a really fun game.
Also a ton of player interaction, which is
Yo,
great. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. It's definitely not a solitaire game, right?
Yeah.
So
I
anyways,
just also bet to myself.
so that was the last game we played on Friday night when we got there.
Yep.
And then as Mike said, I believe in our ICP review,
Yeah.
we get up in the morning.
First thing.
We go and get some breakfast sandwiches.
Yep.
And then we come back and it's like, well, we got like an hour and a half, to kill before people start showing up. It's like, well, we're probably going to try to play Ankh later. So, well, let's do something. We don't need to set it up now. Like, let's do something in the meantime. And then you're like, ICP deck builder.
What is that? Because it's like in my bag sitting there.
Yeah. And Bob and I are like, well, you want to play it? Like, look, come on, let's play it. And so, Mike, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Hatchet Man
deck builder. It's a pretty solid game, and it fools you because it's like ICP is kind of a caricature of itself. So you're like,
Right.
is this a real game or is
Right,
this
is
a
it a joke?
joke?
Yeah.
Is this based on an IP? No, it's
based
good,
on ICP.
It's based
It's
on
an
ICP
ICP,
game,
yeah.
and it's a good game.
yeah, it's way better than it has any business being.
Yeah.
You know, it really
It's
is.
one of the best deck builders there are. If you like just plain deck builders,
It's a really good,
Yeah.
solid, straightforward deck builder. There's very little it's very smooth. It's not clunky. It knows what it is. It does a really good job with what it is.
yeah. If you know anybody that's been sprayed with Fago, show them that game. They will love it.
Yeah, true,
Yep.
true. So then, after that, Mike and I set up a 5-player game of Ankh. 4-player game of Ankh. And we'll get more into the detail of that later because that's like a whole thing. Little did we know that we were going to create like one of the most epic
It
like
was, yeah.
game experiences that I've had. Especially, I mean, I've had really good experiences every time I played Ankh, but this one was like through the roof. So Bobby, while we were playing Ankh, what were
Yes.
you playing next door at the big house?
I went next door, and your sister wrangled me in right away to play a quick game of Fantasy Realms, which I guess.
Oh,
was kind-
Fantasy Realms is really good.
Yeah, so I guess it was kind of one of the inspirations for the Red Rising game that Stonemaier put out. I liked the Fantasy Realms better.
It's better.
It is better.
It's better.
Like, so the Red Rising one, I didn't really care for it. Like the mechanics, okay, not my favorite. But this Fantasy Realms was like basically the same thing, but instead of having just a couple of locations with cards, you know, there's like the discard piles all spread out, and you're trying to build a set. And I thought I was doing so great, right? Like, oh, I got this 40-point card. Oh, that triggers with this. Give me 30 more points. I'm like, yeah, boom, what? 70 points. And they're like, 220. I'm like, wait, what? So yeah, I thought I was doing good, but I didn't do as good as I thought I was doing.
Yeah.
But it was still fun, and it was
It's-
relatively quick.
It's a really weird how you're trying to. You've got all these cards that are going to proc off of each other.
Yep.
And so you're trying to build the best,
Best hand
hand
that you
by
can
the end
have. Mm-hmm.
of the game, right? By discarding and drawing up.
Yep, you can draw a card from that discard face up or off the top of the deck. But once
Yeah.
there's 15 face up cards in the discard pile, game's over. So you can kind of game the system by like, oh, there's like only 14 cards there. I want the game to end now. I'm just gonna draw a card and discard.
Yeah,
and
I've got
try to end the
I've got a
game.
good hand right now. So
I haven't
Yeah.
played that one yet. Neither one, actually, that or Red Rising. I do like games that give you the option where you have control over the end game.
Yep.
There's always a tension with that that's enjoyable.
yeah, Red Rising is good, but Fantasy Realms is way better.
Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed with the Red Rising.
Yeah,
I
would-
love the books. When he announced the game, I picked up some of the books on Audible, and they're great. Like the guy who does the reading
Voiceover,
of it,
yeah,
the
yeah.
voiceover, great like accent, like great like voices and stuff like that. But yeah, a little underwhelmed with the game.
Yeah, and again, right, that was one where the deluxe edition is kind of a bust. Where the regular edition,
Which
if
is
you could
fine.
just get the gold inlay like foil cards, you know, out of the deluxe.
Yeah, you don't need anything else out of there.
Nope,
Yeah.
not a thing. Which stinks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still playing Ankh. What
Yep.
were you playing?
After that, Patrick asked me to teach Venice again.
Oh, Venice.
Yeah, and Venice is a great game. It's pick up and delivery, sort of an engine builder, and you have awesome little minis. There's like a little gondola, and you have your little gondolier on the back, and you're going around like the canals, and you're picking up goods and loading them up on your gondola, and you're delivering them according to your contracts. And then there's also intrigue, right? Because when 2 gondolas pass in the night, they're like, ooh, that's suspicious. And so you either have to like take intrigue, or you have to like pay a scroll to like pay somebody off to not gain that intrigue. If you have too much intrigue at the end of the game, you get arrested, and you can't win the game no matter how many
Womp,
points you
womp.
have. Which twice now, Patrick arrested. So it happens. Too much intrigue. But that was a really good game. I thought I was doing. I did win that one. But who was it? I can't remember who it was. Somebody was like super close to me.
Okay.
And then everybody else was way behind both of us.
Gotcha.
But everybody except for Patrick was new.
Oh, sure.
And he was doing pretty good, but like I said, arrested.
Arrested, so you can't win.
Can't win. But that's like I said, it's a great game. It's I think it's Brain Crack. Is that
Yeah,
right?
it might
Brain
be
Crack
it,
Studios.
yeah.
I think that's who it was. It's got a great solo mode, and they do have some. Biggest complaint about that is as you stop at the locations and you put your little worker on there, and then other people will stop there and like promote your worker, and they get kind of bumped around like until they're at the very top tier. There's not enough room on the board, and like so you get to stand your guy like on the tile, and so you're constantly like moving people, trying to see like what's underneath them, and that was kind of frustrating. But when they just released so Ragusa was the first one, and then they just did a third one, Florence. When they did the release of Florence, they also released an upgraded board for Venice that's slightly bigger, makes room for the meeples like on the outside of the spots, which is way better. Plus, like you've got 3 gondolas all piled up at one place, man. That's a really crowded area.
Not only a lot of intrigue, but a lot of trying to move stuff around.
Yeah. But like I had a really great like system going where I was just making a ton of money, and so with all that money, you can't like backtrack places, but I could go like big loops around the
Oh,
board,
sure.
hit all the different places and whatnot. So that's why I was doing as well as I was. I was like, oh, I just got a contract card. Okay, I need those. I'll stop here, 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 and here, and drop it off here. Okay, that one's done. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah. So that was my engine, and it was working pretty good. It was
Nice.
humming.
Nice.
Nice.
So our game of Ankh only took like 2 hours, which
Yeah.
was so good
Which put
because
us
it
there.
was
I think you came in.
which
on that.
was 4 players, 2 new players, right? Or
Yeah.
one
1.5.
one
One
and a
guy
half.
played
I
once a
think-
long time
yeah,
ago.
Yeah, I think one guy had a little bit of exposure to it. But anyways, we then played a game that I forgot is so good. It is so good. I played it one other time with Bob. Loved it then. Tyrants of the Underdark.
Oh yeah, that's a great game.
Man, it's a great game. You and I played it like
A while ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
2017.
I was say two. Wow, more than 2 years.
Yeah,
ago.
no, I was looking it up.
2020 doesn't count.
I was like, last time I won, and I believe I had the same score that I did when I beat you the first time I played it, and when I beat everybody else the second time I played it. But yeah, so Tyrants of the Underdark, you got this board. There's like all these little like neutral
Caverns and
faction
stuff. Okay.
tokens, you know, like on the different caverns and cities. And then it's a deck builder with a board, and you are playing cards and you're seeding the board with your own stuff. You're killing off neutral guys, the opponent's guys. You know, it's got this awesome mechanic where this card might be worth 2 points, but if I or put it in the vault or the trophy hall or whatever, maybe it's now worth 8 points, right? But it's like a super useful card. So when do you bury it? You know, like when do you? I love that, like push your luck.
Yeah.
You know,
Will I use
kind
it
of
again?
thing.
Will I draw it again in time to bury it? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
That timing of when you want to do that.
Man, it's
Absolutely.
so
I own
good.
that game.
You do own that game.
That game was awesome. I've been wanting to play that for years now. It went out of print, and then they re-released it. Now the owner of that game was saying he has the first edition. And
Yes.
remember, he says
It's
they
superior.
have plastic shields
In the first edition.
in the first edition, but no expansions. Well, they reprinted it, added all the expansions, but now they're all cubes.
yeah, cubes
why
and like
I heard him
and like
saying
cardboard
Or cardboard
chits.
chits.
And stuff.
Yes, yes.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. I got the
yeah.
plastic bits on mine. I got the
Yeah,
bits
it's
on the old
That
good.
game was really
I
good.
I just really had a great time. Now, granted, I won, but I still, even then
did.
though, like picking it up and playing it again, it was like, man, I just get
sort of area control-ish.
but you know, and then like I really like deck builders, and when you're just playing a game and it clicks,
yeah.
you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
I just got this thing going, and I had my engine rolling like early. Like I just had some good things. I got some good cards, and was lucky and able to get them to just mesh well with the other cards I was
Sure.
able to get. I mean, there's always a lot of luck in games like that. I don't mind it, right? But man, is that a good game? But yeah, Tyrants
Very
of
solid game.
Underdark. What's your next game, Bob?
Are
you there yet?
Nope.
What'd you play?
One before that. So after Venice, we played It's a Wonderful World.
Oh,
They've
right
got
on.
like the big, huge version of that. We played 7 people. So I'd only played that game one other time, and it was just Dan and I.
Okay.
And we played it. So drafting with 2 people, it's
boring.
pretty lame, right? But it was so much better at a higher player count. Like I didn't do great. I did pretty good. But it was a much better experience at a higher player count.
Right
so
on.
I would definitely play it again. And I think there's going to be a new version coming out, or maybe it's a deluxe version I saw coming
Could
out.
be.
But yeah, I definitely want to play with you guys at a higher player count. And see
Do you
what
own
guys
it?
think. I do own the base version of it.
Yeah.
I don't have the fancy schmancy like they
Yeah,
had, but
sure.
That's one I've almost bought several times. I know they just fulfilled the 2-player version, which is
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Kingdom.
Yeah.
So
Ah.
slightly different themed and 2-player only.
sure. But I bet that, so like I said, that probably fixes the whole 2-player thing. So if you're
Right.
playing 2 players, just like,
Yes.
okay, here, well, I know what card you took.
Yeah, I mean,
Here.
it'd be like
You know?
playing 7 Wonders with 2 people.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah,
7
that's why-
Wonders duel, amazing.
Exactly. Yep.
But
And then we all got
Now-
together. Yes.
Mike, were you in on our Phantom Inc. game?
Yes.
was.
Okay,
I
can
was.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Inc.
It was a lot of fun.
Bob,
we
this-
chose a really hard word. though.
We picked a word and
did.
it worked.
Hey, but
I
we
did.
got it. And it
Eventually-
was my guess even.
Yeah,
so.
it was like the longest
We made it
time for
like
that.
3/4 of the way
almost all the way
through
through.
page.
Yeah, usually it's like 4 guesses in, somebody guesses it. But yeah, we were almost all the way down to the bottom before they got
each
it.
side even had a wrong guess.
Yeah,
believe.
I think so. But
Which
there was
was-
some funny clues, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, that game's unique from other type of word games because there's sort of descriptive clues that you're getting. Like, what does this taste like? What does this feel like? What's something that would cost similar to this?
Yes.
How does
what does
this
it weigh
travel?
as much as?
What does it weigh as
Which,
much as?
by the way, that was one of them. But by the way, the one that got it, and there was actually controversy about this, I remember, because the clue was starfish.
Yeah,
Okay.
The
that
word
was
was
that was the
starfish.
word we're trying to get them to guess.
The other team guessed. Well, I thought they were trying to guess fish, but their
Okay.
F was crossed out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it can't be fish, but it was how does this thing travel?
Oh.
And Tim gave
put-
the clue that we thought was swim,
Uh-huh.
and
Which
people
was
didn't,
swim.
people didn't agree that starfish swam.
They don't.
They
Which
do in
they don't.
cartoons.
However, if I didn't think this thing was in the water, there's
Uh-huh.
no way we would have got it. Because if he would have said crawl, I'd have been like, this is a land creature.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was a creature by that point. So swim is the only reason I put starfish down. I'm like, it's in the water. That's close enough.
Yeah. And for the record, a starfish, the average starfish, weighs the same as the average eagle. Just saying. It's true.
Is that why that
Yeah.
clue was the first one? I
And they're
still-
like, what the heck?
I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, what was eagle? Is this something that preys on it?
No.
Or
It was
what-
funny because Tim and I was like, he's like, no way. And I Googled it. And I showed him, like,
Well,
look.
no, before you Googled it, though, you're like, I don't know what I was thinking. I made a
But
huge
they're
mistake.
dense. They're dense, right? And you think and eagles are light because
Oh
they
my
fly.
I'm thinking
God.
of like little cheap, starfish
yeah.
you get at a truck stop
Wow.
at Myrtle
Sure.
Beach,
Yeah.
And but yeah, apparently they can weigh up to 10 or 12
Yep,
pounds.
10.5 pounds
Oh
is the
my
average weight of
gosh.
starfish. Yeah.
Same as
and
an
most
eagle.
eagles are like 8 to 12.
So, but here's the other
Wow.
thing. How in the hell did you just randomly
I
off
have
the
no
dome
idea.
come up with
I have
eagle?
no idea how I came up with that, but yeah, it worked.
Because being on the other team, like we had no idea,
Yeah.
but I started thinking of, well, eagles scoop fish out of the water,
This
don't
is
they?
true.
It
It's
led me
true.
there.
And I
so-
wanted to keep them away from a water type of animal. So that's why I was like, oh, eagle. They're gonna think it's something like in the sky or on
Right.
the ground or yeah.
Yeah, glub,
That
glub.
was so
what
funny.
noise
Glove,
does it
glove,
make?
yes.
Yeah.
Glub,
Glove.
glove.
Wait, okay, so
I'm
it's underwater.
definitely in the water.
Yeah. That was a fun.
Yeah, at that point though,
Game's
like
fun.
it's like I got to get them like on track, right?
Sure.
Even if it's an obvious clue.
Yep.
But,
And then I think Pentacle was one of the ones that started to really bring it back towards the star-shaped
right.
fish. Yeah.
but yeah, they were giving Bob and I a hard time for picking a hard word. I
It was very
say
specific. That's why
we
it was
all
difficult.
we all solved it.
Yeah.
They solved it.
They did.
The other team, I think your team was really close
About
to
to
solving
solve it. Yeah.
So we did it right.
I
We
suppose.
picked a good word.
We did.
We gave good clues.
We did. I'll stand
Actually,
by
my
that.
clues. Tim's were slightly better.
Yeah,
Well,
right. Because our team
calm
won.
down. Well, yeah, but your team also had to look at my clues. So
Eagle.
Eagle. Exactly. That was fun. That's a great game. Phantom Inc. Check it
Very
out. It
fun
just
game.
came out. Right. It's a group game. Right. You got two spirits on either side,
Yes.
two teams of medians, and they have 7 cards. They're going to choose 2 to give to their spirit. Spirit's going to look at them, cackle, flip one discard upside down, hand the other one back, and then start writing the clue very slow. When the other team, when the team thinks they know what the clue is, they're going to knock or say stop. And that way the other team doesn't get too much information from what they asked. But yeah, it's a great game.
I thought maybe that was going to be a little too gimmicky at first. Like,
Uh-huh.
well, he's writing slow, and then you can game when you tell him to stop. And
Yeah.
you're not sure what letter that is, but it does work. That was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The only game I wish you would have brought that you didn't was Road Tripping.
Yeah, should I didn't even think about it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Phantom Inc.
It was still good.
It was a home run. I had a great time.
Yep.
That was amazing. What did you guys play next? Because then I went and drug Patrick off to play QE.
Okay. After that, we did Shipwreck Arcana. You were
We
in on
did.
that, right? Yeah. So that's a great one. Cooperative deduction. Played with Toby and Sharon, and they're not huge on co-ops or deduction.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. So.
Oh, so I'm gonna have a similar story
Okay.
when you're done.
Yeah, but we still had fun doing it. There was some mistakes were made, but I had fun playing it. They said it was pretty okay.
They're good sports.
They're
though,
good
right?
sports. Yeah, they're willing to try it and check it out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
And
it was
Toby
fun.
is like a games maven, right?
Yeah,
Like, he's
he'll
played-
play whatever. He'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's check it out.
and
you
he's
know?
his collection is bigger than Pat and Julia's.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and then after that, I think
What did you play?
split off from that.
Yeah,
oh, did you play Shipwreck Arcana?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And that was pretty good. That was my first time.
Yeah,
I'd play it again.
cool.
Brian Boru is what I played, which
Oh,
was a
yeah.
newer release game. Was on the hotness for a bit. So I've never seen this blend of mechanisms before. So this is territory control with trick taking.
Okay.
So you start by the active player deciding which territory you're going to fight over or play your cards for. So that person has to lead. And what's interesting about this is it's the only trick-taking game I've ever played where you don't follow suit. Like in trick taking, you always follow
Usually,
suit.
well, yeah, very.
And this is the first time I've ever played a trick taker where you don't
Play
actually
whatever.
have to follow suit. You can play whatever you want. So the cards determine where what card you have to play. So if you're fighting over a red region, you have to start with a red card, but any card after that can be anything. And all the cards are kind of specific to certain actions that you're trying to do. So not only are you trying to take over different territories, which score points, there's also like a Viking village attack that can happen, so they can take out any territories that you've already taken over. And then there's like a church track, which is kind of just a way to score points, quite honestly. I enjoyed it. The iconography was kind of confusing. Like I often found myself looking at the back of the book to figure out which icons were.
Oh, right on.
Because every time we got to the church phase, it was just kind of confusing on how that was going to resolve each time.
Sure.
And it was like there were 4 icons on the church phase, and like I didn't quite understand all of them. But it was a unique game, and it plays in only an hour, even with 3 people in a teach. So that's kind of neat. There's not a lot of territory. I don't know of a single trick-taking territory control game that plays in an hour.
That sounds kind of
so
neat.
it's very
I've never heard of a
unique.
trick-taking
Territory control, yeah.
Right. So very cool game. Definitely play it again. A little confused on iconography, but a good time.
Yeah, right on.
Cool.
So I drug Patrick off to the side because I thought he would like QE.
Mm-hmm.
So QE by BoardGameTables.com, right? It is everybody is their own country. You've got a dry erase board, and it's essentially like a set collection. You're going to try to get these tiles that are they've got a country and like a resource, right? Like agriculture or technology or government, right? So the more that you can get, the more boxes you can check of a type, and then they're scoring based on that, sort of, like Ganshan's Clever, kind of thing, right? So anyways, the madness with this game is that you can bid whatever you want, as much as you want, every time. The flip side of that is that the person who spends the most money at the end of the game automatically loses. Doesn't matter how many points they have. I love the chaos of it. I love the I bid $1 million. Like,
You still didn't win.
I didn't win. What are they bidding?
Yeah.
And so then when it comes around to you and you're like the auctioneer or whatever, you get to see all the bids. So you do get to see like, oh, okay. Like, and sometimes you get them and you're like, well, that ain't any better than what I got, because sometimes, it just kind of goes up and down. I might go really heavy for this one. And then like later on, it's like, I'm going to go low. Oh, I still won that? That's weird. But it's just nuts, right? Like Patrick hated not having like fixed information.
Reference, yeah.
Yeah. And I get it, and I'm like, well, you get to see him, every once in a while. And he's like, yeah, it's not enough. Right. And I get it. I think everybody, he's a good sport. He sat down, he had a halfway decent time. I think everybody had a halfway decent time. I was just cackling with delight, like while we're playing, because I love the craziness. I believe I played with Hannah and Jacob as well. And I think they had a good time. It seemed like they had a good time, like just because, it's nuts. I think Chris might have played with us also. Chris that played a bunch of games. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't remember. Anyways, super fun. I still like QE. Then I apologize to Patrick. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you wouldn't like this game. And he's like, no. He's like, I didn't think I would like it. I'm glad I played it, so now I know I don't like it. Again, he was a good sport. He's a good host.
Sure.
There's chaos there.
A lot of chaos.
It's like when I played it before, people tend to stay around the same values. Like they'd go up a little bit, but yeah, when we played it at
Caleb's or
Spencer's,
Spencer's, yeah.
the
We got
values
wild.
got nuts. It went from like $12 to millions within a couple bids. It was nuts.
I mean, sometimes it's like, I just want to see what happens. I'm going to do something. I just want to see what happens with it. And insane. So after that, I will. What did you guys? Are you guys still on different paths?
Yes. Yep.
I didn't play anything until his dwellings later.
Oh wow!
So
okay, so I played Arkham Horror 2nd Edition
Okay.
with Patrick, Bobby Ramsey, and Jacob.
Nice.
And
I like second edition.
So yeah, 3rd edition's fine, but 2nd edition is really good. It can just take a long time, right? So we were kind of like, we're gonna play this. We're
Push
gonna
through
get
it.
it. We're gonna push through it. We're gonna get it done in 2 hours.
And they're both veterans at that game.
Well, they're veterans. I'm pretty experienced, and Jacob had never played.
Okay.
But he was, we were like, look, we're not trying to be jerks, but we're trying to get through this, right? Like, we're really going to work and try to get through this and get this game done. Because usually Patrick will set it up and be like, oh, we're going to play. And I love playing games with Bobby, and stuff. And I never see him because he lives in Ohio. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I usually avoid it because it's like 4, 6,
oh wow.
Hours.
2 to 3 I see pretty all the time, but
We have in some of the games that I played with them before, like indie cons, it was like 4 and 6 hours, and it's just like I want to play games with other people. I want to
Sure.
do things. It's like I really love playing games with them, like I really do. But sometimes I just want quantity. But anyways, we got it done in an hour and 45 minutes.
Nice.
And we pushed through. We had some really good draws, right? So in Arkham Horror, you got the whole map. It's the city of Arkham. You're going around to locations. Gates are opening up. And you've got to run around and close all these gates before all the seals or the things pop up on the whatever elder god you were going against.
Yep.
And so you got to go into the gate, and then you move through the gate and have an encounter. You move through the gate, you have an encounter. Then you pop out of the gate, and then you got to roll dice and do pass a check to close the gate. And then you can try to seal it, which then means a gate can never show up on that location again, which is super handy. We got lucky and drew a bunch of elder signs early.
nice.
So it was like close,
Sealed.
close. Yeah, sealed. No rolls needed, whatever. And I just pay my stamina. So it worked out really well. Pat was like basically just going around gunning down all the monsters, So it worked out really well. We had a really good team. Everybody kind of fell into step, right? It was just one of those games where it's like we all knew our roles. We went around and we just bang, bang, bang. And had a really good time, a nice experience. And got to play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition for the first time in a long time. So it was good.
Nice.
Yeah, I played 2 games while you were doing that.
Yeah.
So we played The Adventures, The Temple of Chak, I think it's called, CHAC.
Okay. Never
But
heard
it's
of it.
very Indiana Jonesy, right? Like you start off with your adventures, you're gonna get 2, and you're gonna have like 1 off the board, 1 on the board in case the first one dies. And your first thing you're doing is you're running down this like hallway, and you can stop and try to gain some clues. But every round, you're drawing cards, and the walls might start closing in on you, so you can't stay in there
Nice.
too long, right? And but you're getting clues to know that once you go over to this other spot where there's lava and there's all these runes on the floor, you're gonna know which ones are safe to step on and which ones aren't. Because if you step on one that's not safe, you fall into the lava. And once you get through like where the walls are closing in, there's a big boulder and it's coming around, and the whole game that thing's chasing you.
Tell me
right?
this
That's
was my
exactly
sister's game.
Indiana Jones.
No, it's Toby's.
Oh, I cannot believe my sister is not on this game. Raiders
Really?
of the Lost Ark is like her
I-
favorite
oh,
movie of all
yeah,
time.
Yeah. And it's literally that, right? And it's
Yeah.
chasing you out,
Yeah,
and
seriously.
and that's your timer. Because if that thing gets all the way to the entrance and seals it, you're stuck inside. You can't get out.
Right.
So not only is there that, and then there's like the lava part where you can either try to go on the tiles and search in the lava to get artifacts, or you can avoid that and go the long way around. And there's some like locked things where you can like spend actions to try to like pick the locks to get the treasures inside. But you can only the cool thing about it is that you've got a move chart. So if you're holding like 0 to 3 treasures, everybody's gonna roll on your turn. You roll 5 dice, and that's how many actions people are gonna get depending on what their weight limit's at. So if you add 0 to 3 items, then anything over a 2, you get an action point for it. But if you've got like 4 to 6 items, then you only get to move on 4 or higher. And so like the more items you're holding, the less likely you are to get action points. And so then there's another spot where you have to try to like jump into some water and navigate and swim through the water while you're searching for things and trying to get out. So it was a really neat kind of game. It played about an hour, a little less than an hour.
Not bad.
Yeah, but it was fun. I fell in the lava, and
Come on.
it was worth a shot. The thing is, I was like, you're looking at these tiles and you don't realize how similar they are to each other, right? I should have
Oh.
took a picture of it to remember, if I were a sketchbook, and kind of sketch it out. If I was in that situation, I'd have done something like that, right? It's like, oh, I'll remember this. It's cool. And step. Oh, yeah. So
Womp womp.
Yep. But it was fun. And then after that, we taught. Hannah had never played Downfall of Pompeii.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite games. Is
I
I
love
love
Downfall of
introducing
Pompeii.
games to people, and this is one of the ones I use all the time. At the beginning, you're drawing cards and playing them, and bringing all of your people into Pompeii to witness all these acts of the gods. And then the lava starts flowing, and the cards go away.
Then there's other acts of gods that
Yeah.
are just taking you out.
And then you've got a bag of tiles, and you're pulling the tiles out, and they've got symbols on them, and that tells you where you can place them around the board. You're running people over with lava, you're tossing them in the volcano, and you're trying to get your guys out. And what I didn't realize is that once they run out of tiles in the bag, it ends the game. Like I thought anybody that was still safe, you'd be able to get out. And so I was queued up to win. But then we ran out of tiles, and Toby's like, "No, that's the end." I'm like, "Wait, what? I thought it would play till we got everybody out." And because like I think mine had an expansion in it because I have more tiles in mine. There's like wilds. He didn't have the wilds in his bag. But anyways, so with that little caveat, I lost. By one person.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Womp, womp.
But it was
We
still
all feel
fun.
bad for you.
I know you do. But Downfall of Pompeii. It's a great game.
It's a really good,
Yep.
wild, crazy game.
Most complicated part about it is building the initial deck.
Yeah.
Once you've got that done,
we've
then
got
the rest is,
board game roulette version. of
oh
that,
yeah,
don't
we do. Yeah,
Somebody's got to put that in.
somebody's got to do that.
there. Over Mike's head.
Yeah,
It's happening. There you go.
but check that out because that was a ton of fun.
Yeah. So then we got to after that.
Yep.
We all played with Patrick. We played Dwellings of Eldervale.
Yes,
We did.
We played Patrick's version, right?
We did play his copy.
Yep.
So he has like the Kickstarter, all the fun stuff, the monster bases.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike was nice enough to teach us. And the crazy thing to me is you get all these player boards, it's two-sided, right? You got that two-sided player board, so it's a different faction. And like one faction looked way cooler. I'm like, ooh, I want to be these guys. And then when you were explaining the rules and everything, I'm like, I don't even care what they do. Like, I don't pick these guys. You started explaining the rules, and I flipped it over. And I'm like, oh no, like this guy gives me like a wild, like lets me use stuff as a wild. Like this is the one I clearly need to use. But it was really that was really fun. I appreciated like that. The artwork is amazing. Mike, I will let you go into the detail with
How to play.
Dwellings.
Yeah,
and
quick
Yeah,
and a
I don't
good
know if I want to
description of it.
overlap the potential for a review video there.
Yeah, no.
However,
Just get into a little bit of
really,
it.
it's a worker placement game at its heart. And you have the option to recall your workers. So there's really only two different things you can do on your turn. You can place a worker into Eldervale, or you can pull your workers back, and you start triggering your adventure cards, which is a tableau you build, has a little bit of an engine. Some
Because
set
when you pull your
collecting.
workers back, you can
push them
assign
on
them to a
things, yeah.
location, which will then trigger your
Yes,
ability.
you start with one starter card, which is basic abilities that are already on the board. So it's kind of a duplicate way to...
Yeah, in case you can't get to the
Get
first one, you
access
get to
to
the
those
second one.
locations.
But you can build up more, and now you got more resources you can do.
Yeah, Bob had
additional
like 10 rooms
effects.
in front of him. By the
Yeah,
end.
thankfully because that was the only thing I got points for.
Yeah, but what makes it different is that you also have combat, and the fact that you can go out into Eldervale and somebody else can plop a guy on the same location, kill you, and you're no longer on that location, makes the whole game interesting because our game felt kind of tight. Like, I didn't get to do the things I wanted to do
At all.
and I was the aggressive player.
Yeah.
I just had an ability that was kind of forcing my soldier, because you start with workers, but you can buy more workers. You can buy a soldier who's better at fighting. You can buy a
Wizard.
wizard
yeah, I
who
used
can
the wizard.
teleport all over the board. It's got an interesting placement
dragon.
mechanism to where the first guy can't be in the same hex as another
Yeah,
worker.
he's got to be alone.
Yeah, your
And
first
then
one you
your
put
next
out.
guy has to be adjacent, but can be
Adjacent,
in a space with
but
anybody.
then he can trigger a combat, which is interesting. But really, it's at its heart, worker placement with some combat mechanics, and you're building dwellings on the board. Hence the name.
And the one other thing I thought was really neat is that when you build a dwelling, though, you put a little roof. It
On
fits
your
on top of
meeple.
your meeple. So now that's one less worker you have.
Yeah.
So the dwellings are really beneficial because you're going to get all those points for them and everything.
Combat
but
bonuses.
Combat dice.
but you are losing
A worker.
a worker.
And you have to plan it ahead of time because there's one location to build a dwelling, but you can't put the dwelling where that worker is. It has to be a different
Right.
guy. So you have
That's
to
the guy you got to pull.
plan it out. Yep, you got to plan it out to have an additional
Yeah,
worker ready for
It's-
that dwelling.
It's pretty
So it's
well.
a-
So I had set it up so that like I was pulling off the worker when I recall my workers, pull off the one,
using the starter card.
trigger the starter card to then
Yep.
instead of pulling that guy off, put a hat on him.
Yep.
Now your thing. But yeah, no, I thought the visually the board, the game board looked amazing.
very pretty.
The components are really good.
Yep.
I enjoyed all the trays.
Yep.
This was a game that I was like, I liked it after we finished playing, but then by the end of it, and we'll go more into it when we do a review, but by the end of it and like thinking about it, like that was a game I thought about a lot afterwards, and I'm like, no, I really like that. Like, and I thought it was pretty neat, and it just did a lot of things I in a unique way that I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for good looking
was
just
very good
beautiful looking
Yeah.
games.
It was well produced, very well produced.
Crazy good table presence. So after Dwellings of Eldervale,
Yep, we had one more. We started the game with the deck builder. We ended the game with the deck
the
builder.
day, yeah.
Yeah. Ascension, Curse of the Golden Isle.
Curse of the Golden Isles. We do
Yeah.
have a review of this.
We do.
Somewhere up there.
Make him work for Dan.
I know. Good. Good. He's not on this episode. He's got to do something.
That's fair.
Yeah, so this is Ascension with a twist, right?
Mhm.
Like every standalone expansion of Ascension. Is this not really it is a game in the Ascension universe
Sure.
that plays just like Ascension, except you've got a board.
And some tweaks.
Yeah, you got a board and you've got cursed treasure and you're going around and the lineup, instead of just being like right out across, is spread out around at different locations. So you can go to a location and get a card, or you can just get a card. But sometimes there's benefits to being at the location. If there's a cursed treasure tile or token on that location that you get the card from, well, now you got that token. You get pairs of them. They can give you abilities. Other people can go to your location and steal your tokens.
Yep.
All kinds of good stuff.
Sometimes the cards will have an anchor ability on them. So if you're at that location and you buy
Yep.
it, you get to trigger that anchor ability. There's a dead pirate Roberts.
Yeah,
that
that's
we
what
like
we
to call
call
it.
him anyways, yeah.
And he's going around there, and when he hits you, he takes one of your wild resources away from you.
Right.
Which is one of the other additions that this one made.
Yeah, it kind of speeds up, I think, or
Yeah.
makes it easier to buy.
It does.
Those-
Because you
those
carry
expensive
resources
cards.
from round to round.
Yeah, it does that really well. There's a few
Good way
things
to
like
do it.
there's a few things where it's like there's times where I wish there were maybe more cards or like more like combos, like things that really
Okay.
just like combo boom 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 boom. But I mean, for the most part, it's if you like Ascension, you'll like this. It's just kind of got a twist.
my
and
favorite
some more
Ascension.
stuff.
I thought about that one more after we played it, and there are a couple things that I haven't seen other games do, where you move to the location, then recruit the card, and you get an extra benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a deck builder that does that. Actually, that's a really interesting mechanic.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted it to have like more anchor.
Sure. Yeah, it could have had
mechanics.
more.
And the fact that you can bank your wilds.
Yeah,
that's
I
kinda
like
neat, too.
that
And
a
then the
lot.
guy moving around that can steal
Steal
them from you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've never seen where you can bank a wild resource in a deck.
Mhm.
Me
builder.
neither, and it's great because
Yeah.
out of all the resources, the wild is the one you want to bank.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yep,
let's
yep.
go the easiest. Like, let's just facilitate your buying things.
Yeah.
Or killing things, right? Defeating monsters because you can use it as combat too.
Being able to buy more cards is never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing. Almost as good as drawing more.
Yeah, everybody
cards,
likes to draw cards.
right?
Yes.
Right. So then we all went to bed.
Yep.
Well, we were going to try to set up Anachrony.
Yeah, try to set it up. Turns out that Tim's
Patrick.
brother-in-law's copy was missing some of the bits from it, so that was really unfortunate.
Oof, the
so-
Infinity Box even.
Yeah, he got the Infinity Box, and it had all the trays and stuff, but he was missing all the fancy resources, and that was like kind of the whole reason why we were going to play that version, so we could play with the fancy bits. So I messaged a friend of ours who was coming the next day.
Yeah, Sarah was already going to play anyway.
Yeah, Sarah was going to play, and she loves Anachrony, so I asked her if she would bring her copy, and thankfully she obliged. But like, apparently it was out on the table, so she had to put it all away, pack it up, then bring it over, then set it all up. And then we were also playing. We didn't play with all the modules, but we did play with the Fractures of Time. I will never not play with Fractures of Time. Like, it is such a cool module. It does add like a little bit more to the teach, but man, it's such a cool resource. Like, it's got a whole other board that comes with it and spots for your mechs to go. Because the basic premise, right? So the world's collapsing and it eventually gets hit by this asteroid and it's really going to end. And you find this new element called neutronium. And it's going to allows you to develop time travel. So it's a worker placement game at its heart, but you can like request resources from the future, which is amazing.
You just got to pay him back.
You just got to pay him back.
Turn.
Well, yeah, we just got to pay him back eventually. Once you change eras, you have to travel back and pay it because otherwise, every round you're going to be rolling dice and
for paradoxes.
and anomalies, and those are not good. And but what's really neat is that the Fractures of Time adds blinking. So there's this resource that comes, and it's basically allowed people to figure out how to be in two places at the same time. And so what you do is when you have your, you take your little, you have your little cardboard chits that are like your scientists and your geniuses and whatnot. You put them into your mech, and because in order to go out into the world, because it's all messed up because the environment and everything, you have to be in one of these big exosuits. You put him out on the board. You do your little resource thing. On the next turn or whatever, you can then spend the little flux is what it's called. You can spend a flux, and then you pull the worker out, and he's tired. And just do that just so you can signify which one you've used because you can't blink with the same one. And you take that mech, and you can put it exosuit, and put it somewhere else. So basically, it allows you to use the exosuit twice, right? Because
Oh,
you're in two
wow.
places at the same time, and so it allows you to do a lot more things out on the planet and whatnot.
Wow.
But that also kind of messes with reality a little bit. So every time you do that, if you're not using one of like the pilots, which is one of the new people that they give you with the expansion, you have to roll the blink dice or the flux dice, I think they're called. And if you roll poorly, bad things are going to happen.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a really neat like mechanic, like because so many times it's like, man, I need to go get a resource, I need to build something, but I need water, and I need to come over here and do a trade, or I want to hire somebody, and it's like you just can't power up that many
Yeah.
exosuits, and so you can just do a couple of them and do the blink a few times and blink around and do the different
Right.
abilities. Super cool. I really enjoyed that. But it took a while to teach, right, to explain everything. I had played a few times, but without that. Patrick and Julia were still pretty new, so she went through like a full teach, and it was about an hour and a half for the teach time before we even took turn one.
Yeah, they started at like 8:30, 9 o'clock setting up.
Yeah.
They called it a turn early,
Yep, one turn early.
like 2:30.
So, it was a long game.
In
And we had played 4 games.
4 games.
And that was
and
my
I
Sunday.
taught
During that time
and you learned well 2 of the 4 you learned. You'd played Gizmos
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So Mike and I were kind of over at the main house just waiting for people to start showing up. So I got out my newest Kickstarter acquisition, Mob, the Big Apple.
Yep.
We basically sat down, learned how to play it, played it in 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's actions on at the top of the board, and then you can like load up cars to go to locations. You can take actions which will allow you to like eliminate cars and get different things, or seed the board with contraband crates and things like that. And it's kind of like, you take 3 rounds building up, and then after the end of the 3rd round, reveal everything. Mike, how'd that game go for you?
I played terribly, and he destroyed me. And that's why he's gloating.
I'm a
in
little
it
smug,
right
I
now.
guess. Yeah, a little
Yeah,
smug.
I just
So
played
bad
poorly.
teacher award.
He took-
A 19-3 bad teacher award.
It was-
Holy cow, that is pretty bad.
I think I was going all in onto one location that I thought I was going to win, and then I think he either moved them or
yeah.
So all the guys I thought were going to win me all those nice juicy VP/resources just somehow disappeared from the board.
Well, and I moved over one of my poker chips to like
Yes.
to add extra
Yeah.
because you can assign basically to start the game. You've got these poker chips. You've got 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s.
Secret.
And they're secret. So you're gonna put them down, and then
Betting on locations.
well, these are where you're gonna add extra influence to, right? And then on one of the last turns, I took the action to move one of my chips over because you have to have one on each location to start the game. But after that, all bets are off. You can take an action and move one of them. And so on the very last turn, I moved one of my 3s over. I think I had like a 2 there already, but I really wanted to make sure I won because I didn't want. If Mike won, it was one of those things where it was a big point swing. Like if Mike would have won that location, the scores would have been a lot closer. I don't know that it would have won him the game, but I knew if I stopped him from getting that location, there's no way he wins the game, right? Kind of thing.
Right.
And so it's like, this is the linchpin. If I pull this out, it topples his whole thing. So what do I do as a good friend, and I've got this guy out for the first time, like out of town with us,
He
hey.
murked me. That's
pulled
what
a
he
Oh,
did.
I totally pulled the pin.
Yeah.
Blew him up.
Well, I mean, I had all those guys in that one spot, and it was almost like we hadn't used that action the entire game.
No.
And it was almost like as the new guy, I kind of forgot that was even there. And then, of course, Tim slyly takes it.
To be
in the
fair,
last
it was my first time
round.
playing too.
It was.
But yeah,
his copy.
but I also totally did not point out that like we went through every space did, and we even corrected ourselves on a few because it was like
It was a learning game.
I think this works actually this way. Not a big deal. I don't think that changed anything, right? But then I saw that space and I was like, oh no,
Definitely,
Like,
we both forgot about it. And
We
obviously
both
he
forgot
did
about
too,
it.
because he waited till the last round to use
I
it.
forgot about it until the last round, and then, actually I forgot about it until like early in the last round, and then I was like.
So,
Okay, I'm not going to move anything because I didn't want to do it and then have you counter move.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, so if Mike sees that spot and moves, I can use the other one, and it's like slightly more expensive to do, and kind of like barrage,
Sure.
And I'm like, so I had it in my head that's my strategy. If Mike sees that and moves one of his chips, I will go and do the other one. I'm ready. I'm prepared to go and move the other one. But and then when he didn't do it, I'm like, oh, I got this.
Checkmate.
Yeah, it kind of was. It was sort
It
of a
was
jerk
good, though.
move, but it worked out.
Nice.
Fun game.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It plays really fast. I think I would be interested to hear your opinion. I think
Okay.
you'll like it. It's pretty interesting. I want to play it a bunch more.
2 players,
Two players. It's only 2 players, which is sort of a negative, but
also a positive sometimes.
it's sometimes
Because it's designed specifically for that. It should play well with
and it
that.
plays fast.
Yeah.
It plays well. It plays fast. It's pretty well designed. Everything's pretty straightforward. So yeah, we played Mob, the Big Apple. Then we played Gizmos,
We did.
and I kind of forgot that I really like Gizmos.
It's a good
It's
game.
a nice engine building kind of game. We
Yep.
both were cranking out like all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
combos and doing all kinds of stuff. I was set up for like a bunch of wilds and stuff, so that worked out in my favor. But Mike had all these things where it's like, oh, I build this, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
get this.
I was going
and I'm
off
gonna get
of
this.
pick combos. So every time I pick a resource, I get another one. And then I had a bunch of those. So every time I pick, I'm just like, here, just dump the box into my circle.
Seriously, I'm like, how many can you hold? Oh, okay, you still can hold 5 more. I guess I'll
Yeah,
shut up. I
yeah.
think I said that like 3 different times. 'Cause Mike's just got
Wait,
all.
why
of
are you
these-
still grabbing?
Yeah, stop that. What's funny though is a thing that Mike earlier said that he likes in a game came back to bite him, where you can kind of control the end game.
Yeah.
So like I was doing okay on points. I thought it might be getting close. So I just rush built stuff at the end just
push the end.
to push the end because I was able to do enough to be able to consistently build the bottom row. And I think when somebody completes like 4 of those or something,
Yeah.
it ends the game. So I was close, and I was like, okay, I can't keep letting Mike get points or he's going to bury me.
No, I kept trying to use my abilities to make my engine, which was already good, somehow gooder, and not
Yeah.
focusing on in game. And then when I realized he was going that route, it was too late. But I played that game one other time a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I even requested that one.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like in games, I might have mentioned it in the Discord, I think, is when combo effects. Like I do this, which allows me to do this, which and also allows me to pick here and
Yes.
build. That is
Yes.
just so fulfilling when
It
you
really
get all that
is.
stuff
Trigger,
to
trigger,
trigger
domino
at once.
effect. Yeah.
Love that in
That's
games.
one of you guys give me a hard time about loving DC Deck Builder, but I am really good in DC about building up those combos and trigger.
Yeah. See, the thing with
Effects of
DC though is I
doing
never
stuff.
get any of that stuff to line up properly. Like,
Oh.
oh, the cards didn't come out that I wanted. Oh, I'm playing Superman, but there's only equipment's out.
I get it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, it's my
so-
turn. I have 2 cards left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, Gizmos, man, it's still really fun. I'm glad
is.
you like it.
It's a blast.
When you requested it, I was like, yeah, I'll play Gizmos. Then we had another guy. This was the other Mike showed up.
yeah.
We were kind of like, it was like 11 o'clock. That's when people were like scheduled to start coming over. We thought it might be our last game because we were trying to leave by noon. Didn't happen. But we're like, oh, we'll play something short. I like Dice Miner. It's like
okay.
easy to teach, and I think the other Mike had played it before once, maybe.
I'm not sure.
But you hadn't played it, right?
No, I played it at
you-
Spencer's one
you
time.
had played it.
I had.
I think
yes.
the other Mike then hadn't played it. I thought
believe
one of
so.
you had played it once. So anyways, we banged out, a game of Dice Miner relatively quick. He skunked us, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he had 79, and we were in
Yeah.
the 50s.
He had lots of gold early, and we
Yeah.
just couldn't,
Could catch up.
could not catch up.
And I had the one that started with the 1 pip to work on runs.
So
And I just went all in on trying that, which is a boomer bust strategy. But in a luck-based game, a boomer bust strategy is just fun to play. So I just
agree.
loaded up on white
actually,
dice.
So you started slow, but man, by the end, you were getting a lot of points from those pips.
I scored 36 just the last round, but the problem is I
Wow.
scored nothing the first
First
round
round.
because none of them lined up.
well, you
Sure.
scored one.
It
'Cause you're the
won,
one.
yeah. Yeah, my one.
Yeah, but I like Dice Miner, for what it is. Again, right? So we are now having played 3 games while you were still.
At this point, I think me and Sam are like, hey, do you think the cataclysm has happened yet? We were like taking bets on it. Has
So
the
then-
cataclysm happened?
Yeah.
So then we were like, all right. Basically, I think what I did was I ran over to check on your game.
Yeah. See how much time I had.
Yeah, still going strong, and then it's like, well, I'm gonna grab Bob's Fancy Lords of Vegas. And so we played.
I'm like, I'll play that again. Are
Yeah.
you serious?
So I kind of started my first full game of the con
Mhm.
was Lords of Vegas, and my last full game of the con was Lords of Vegas.
Nice.
And we played with the Up, we played with the Underworld. Again, why wouldn't you now, right?
Yep.
We taught Mike how to play, the other Mike, and he is kind of like from what I could tell, and I don't know him super well. I've played a few games over the years with him, but he's just kind of serious, kind of guy. But for him, I feel like he was having a good time.
I think so, and I got that same gist because I think it was miffed when the gambling didn't work for him. Have you mentioned that?
Well, I was worried they got turned off by that not working, but then he started to get some other things working.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was kind of having a good time with it. And then there was like the reorganization, right, where we all got to roll our dice. And I think he was kind of
that happened a lot.
It always does.
Yeah.
I mean, but this game it happened a lot.
A lot.
But we had a lot of low numbers, right? So it was like you'd have like a 5-tile casino, and it would only be like 10 or 11 to remodel. And then and that's the other thing is that both that Mike and myself, we each had the Underworld card where when you reorganize, you don't re-roll ones.
You don't
pay
for
to roll
ones
ones and twos.
So they don't nickel
He
and
was
dime you.
forcing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was so good. And we just had crazy rolls. And
Ownership of one casino went back and forth like 2 or 3 times.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then, like I did a move where I kind of snaked the casino out from underneath somebody, which was kind of dirty, but might have won me the game, bad teacher award.
Somehow I lucked into like just being on my own. Like I didn't have any reorganizing, any remodeling. I'm just building my stuff and watching you guys fight over them.
Well, you had like maybe one or two, but they weren't even as big.
They weren't that big.
And then once everybody got into like the higher scoring parts of the board, well, like those don't matter because they're not going to score enough points. So when Mike starts building them up, it's different because then now he's going to get more points for them. But while it's only a 2-point or 3-point casino, I need 4 to move up. I'm not wasting my time over here. I'm working on these 12-point casinos, and stuff like that.
One of the great things about the up is I really want to play with like 4 or 5 people is that you can only go up as far as there are players.
Right.
So, you play 2 or 3 players, that's as high as you can go up. I want to play 4 or 5 players. So it's like, man, my casino's like super tall and I'm getting tons of points off it. It'd be pretty great.
It was super crazy and a ton of fun. Now we need to talk about Ankh.
We got to talk about Ankh.
I'm going to go ahead.
Oh, I was Osiris. You were Amun,
Yep.
Ta,
And Hathor.
Hathor. So I had the ability where if I have a soldier die in a region, I can place an underworld tile, and then what that does is it basically blocks
It's
everything.
gone, yeah.
Nothing can be put there except for me. I can summon a dude there,
Sure.
and I can occupy that space. Your
I had
ability,
a moon, which allows you to play 2 battle cards once per conflict phase. And I've played the game about 4 times, and I never have gotten that one. And we set it up first. And when I saw that, I'm like, nobody picks that. I got to have that. I got to try that.
Yeah, so and what I had done is we set up the game. We randomly picked the gods, right? We had the board all set up, and I just kind of told the other guys when they walked in, it's like where you sit, just kind of sit where you want to be.
That's who you are.
That's who you are. No big deal, right? So I took Osiris because he was last. And then, you got lucky because you got a moon. Nobody cared, right? You were like,
Yeah, like I'm picking that one.
yeah. And everyone's like, oh, okay, cool. So anyways, then we had one guy got followers. Every time you build a monument, you have to pay him a follower, which is awesome. And then the other one had the exalted followers. So
Exalted Followers was Ta. So he gets...
he gets paid. He gets the exalted
he gets
and the paid.
and Exalted Followers. Hathor was Matt's character, and that's the one that as anytime you get rid of followers, you can pay another one to put a warrior on the board.
Oh, yeah.
So he was able to repopulate the board very quickly.
Very quickly. Very, very quickly. So I got lucky because this combat is in Ankh, right? You're trying to control the monuments. You get points for controlling the monuments and different types of monuments and territories and things like that. And the way, the player, your actions, the way you take your actions, will trigger the event. So the timing of all that is really important. I'm way out ahead early. I'm doing really good. I've got this strategy where early on I'm trying to lose battles and I'm trying to place my underworld tiles. Just by dumb luck, I'm like, this is a good place to put an underworld tile because there's a monument on either side of it. Then there's water. It was just really crowded. So I was like, I'm going to jam up this spot because then I can get in here and kind of control it a little bit. those monuments where Mike said he couldn't.
Yeah, so one of them was the one that starts that scenario in that location, and there's a part of the board on the west side because it's really divided into kind of triangles.
You're right.
There's one spot that's sort of locked by water a little bit. There's not as many areas that you can actually go to, and when one monument's here, I went into the game just knowing how I was going to use that battle card ability. I'm like, I'm going to use 2 in the very first battle. I'm going to build a monument, and I'm going to get that card back and build a second monument. So the second monument was in the territory Tim's talking about. I'm like, ooh, I can get my guy between a pyramid and a temple, put him right in between. But because of how tight that spot was, there's only one place you could be adjacent to both. And you have to be adjacent to the monuments for them to trigger these abilities. So where does Tim put his underworld token when he buys or when he dies in that battle? He puts it right in between those 2 monuments. It literally handicapped me for the remainder of that game. I'm trying to, it was only like 3 spots from where my god started. So I'm like, that's a good spot to move my warrior in and stay involved in this battle. And I'm setting myself up for Pyramid Attuned or the one that gives you Temple Strength.
Attuned, yeah.
Temple Attuned, and here comes that Underworld token, and it crapped on my strategy right away.
And I just kept popping guys in there all the time. It was so good. It was so good. So I'm doing great, right? I'm in the lead. I'm doing good. I'm still in the red, right? Everybody's in the red for like a long time, even when you're doing well. We get to, it's almost, there's going to be, the battle is coming, and I know that I'm probably not going to get to. There's a chance that Matt is sitting here is not going to take the action to trigger the battle because it would only be 1 action. And I'm like, oh, I really hope he needs to do 2 actions because I just needed to like seed the board a little bit more, and I was going to have a crazy good turn. I was like all set up. He takes 1 action, and
It sucks.
triggers the thing. It's tough. It's part of the game. I love it. He does that. Him and Chris surge ahead. Surge. They get so many points. And Mike and I are like, well,
Looking like a merge is what's going to happen.
Looks like we're going to merge. So that was the point in the game where the two of the lowest players are going to merge. And so I was the higher player, so all of Mike's monuments and everything came off. We use my board, so we have my abilities, which we weren't that dissimilar, like in some of the things that we had bought, the Ankh powers and stuff. But the amazing thing is, this is why I love the merge mechanic, right? Is that so Mike was like here, right? So Chris is going, like I go, Chris goes, Mike goes, Matt goes, I go.
So you're alternating turns.
So we're alternating turns, but because of we have merged, we each only get one action, which seems like a hindrance, except Matt and Chris cannot take the same action 2 turns in a row. We now can take the same action 2 turns in a row because Mike can do one thing and then I can go and do the exact same thing again, right? So what was awesome is Mike, like, we kept taking his turn like in his spot, right? But he came over and we're like, okay, so this, and then we're going to do this and this.
We had it mapped out almost as soon as I sat down. Because I had to wipe the board of all my figures, but I brought over like 15 followers.
Oh, yeah, we get to bring all his followers.
Because by building all those monuments, I didn't have a very good battle strategy, but I had a ton of followers to use.
He had the bankroll, man.
And I'm like, hey, Tim, okay, so, and we just kind of, I'm going to bankroll our Loki strategy is what happened.
It was amazing.
Just stormed back into the game. We got into the second, or not the second, it was the second to the last battle. So this game didn't even get to the last conflict phase. We ended it on the second to the last one. And we were able to set up our strategy like as soon as I sat down. Hey, let's get rid of followers for points every battle.
Yep.
Boom, we got the followers for it. Well, Tim had Underworld tokens and he had Pyramid Attune. So every time he summoned figures, here's an extra guy to Pyramid. Here's an extra guy to an Underworld token. So
here's an extra guy to another pyramid.
I think
and
it's
another
magnanimous.
pyramid. And I had been specifically building up pyramids everywhere on the board just so that I could spawn.
One summon.
Everywhere.
Yeah, like everything out.
So then the Loki strategy comboed with the one that allows you to, every time 2 figures are killed, you gain 2 more devotion.
You gain devotion if you lose 2 or
guaranteed 3 devotion on every battle if we lost.
Because
it.
then we had Bountiful, which you could pay one to then gain extra devotion. You pay a follower to gain extra devotion every time you gain devotion. And so, yes. So we sat down and it was like, click, everything locked into place. Then when we got to some of the fun though was the battle card. Like for me is it's like, okay, so they're going to play this. We had it gamed out.
He already used that one, so this
Yeah.
one's safe.
It was crazy. Like we locked in, it was like overdrive mode and it was, but when that first combat, the first round of combat for what ended up being the last round, when it went the way that we thought it would, I was like, we got the game.
Yeah, it's all
I just
downhill
knew it.
from here.
I knew it because by the time we got to the 4th territory, it was done. Because it was like points. They're like, how are you getting all these points? And it's like, well, 2 for this and 2 for this and then 1 for this and 2 for this and 2 for this. And we're just climbing right up. And we just totally ran away with it. Bad teacher award, but
It was something like 18 points just in the last conflict phase, and I don't even think we finished. I think we did 5 of 7. Like that was enough.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we
was
got to
just-
the end. We got to the end. And we kind of like talked through it so everybody could see what they would have had, as they had gone through. But like Ankh is, oh my God, it's so good. It's so much fun. I get the frustration, right, of stuff not working out the way you want.
I still
but-
only played it the one time, so I'm not gonna judge it too harsh.
But
Yet.
but I think that like some of that's the game though. You're looking at that. You have to know like, well, I can't count on this happening to me, so I've got to create sort of my own luck, my own situations here, you know what I mean, and things like that. So if you can't trigger the like I'm going to gain control of a monument, well then you need to set yourself up so that you're going to make your own monuments during the battle phase, right? So well now I'm gaining control of these monuments because I'm building them, and you can make it so that you can build them for free. So it's
Yeah, that was like the only time I played it was the first time we played the learning game.
Oh, yeah.
It was 5 people, so like our strategies haven't been figured
Right.
out yet and all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. And I played it, a bunch of times now, and man, it's just like, man, that game cooks, man.
It sings when it all works.
It really does. It really does. And then we went over and Bob was still playing Anachrony.
The Cataclysm had happened.
The
though.
Cataclysm had
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, our Ankh game was crazy epic. I had a fantastic time. And the whole weekend was really good. I didn't have a bad time playing a single game. I, as always, I usually end up playing with some new players and some like old favorites, right? And always have a good time, meet excellent people. Mike, how was your experience?
It was an incredible experience. The food was great. All the people were super friendly. And I played 16 different games in a weekend.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So would you go
was-
again?
Absolutely.
We'll see if you get an invite.
All right, I'm out.
We will see. Yeah, no, I mean, I like it when they do one of those weekends. Like for the most part, Bob and I are always in,
Yeah.
and then it's like, who else can we bring with us?
Yep.
Kind of thing. And I'm always really glad that you're able to go because
Yep.
it's awesome. Because it's like, well, Tim and Bob are coming,
Right.
And people are at least nice enough to pretend they're happy to see us, which is always nice. But yeah, I mean, I always have a good time. I love it when I can take somebody like Mike, who's never met any of these people. They haven't met my sister and my brother, and I can say, hey, like, come meet these people. They're awesome. Trust me, they're awesome. You're gonna have a great time.
They all were.
And they all were, right? You had a great time.
Yep.
And I'm a proud little brother,
Yep.
because it's a good experience. So this whole show has just been Julia Khan. Sorry about that, but
Yeah.
like this would have been a terrible games we played segment
Yeah.
where Spencer and Dan would have sat there.
Like,
Well, that sounds like
There were a lot of games
well, hey,
to talk about.
they got their
I
fill
mean,
of them last week, so
yeah, you don't need them.
we saved. Yeah, we saved all the hotness.
best for last.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Ooh,
I'll
sounds
throw,
like shade.
I'll throw shade, man. It's my show. I'll do what I want. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please check out our sister channels. We've got Miniatures Rundown. We've got Magic the Gathering Rundown, Pokemon Rundown, all under the Game Talk Network umbrella. Also, please join the Discord, join the Facebook. Discord, we've been really active, right?
Yep.
Especially me.
Especially Mike. Mike's on there a lot. But yeah, we've got we've got threads, channels for topic suggestions, Kickstarter news, board game chat. I mean, we just have like ongoing conversations at any given time about different games, all kinds of stuff. Sometimes video games, and things like that. But we're building up a nice little community over there, and obviously you're welcome to join it. always check out our friends at the Board Game Mechanics. Jason and Katie do a pretty okay show. Jason's dropping videos on YouTube all the time. They cover all kinds of games. And they also have a weekly podcast that I really like and listen to a lot of. I think that covers everything, right?
I think so. As
Right.
long as you've liked and subscribed and rung that bell.
There we go. We didn't do that at the beginning,
We
so you
did.
might as well do that now.
Sneaking in right at the
Yeah,
end.
you know, that's how it works. That's how it works. And Mike, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Nice
Good
work,
times.
man. Nice
Yeah.
work. So for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Bob.
I've been Mike.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.